made a breakthrough regarding the quantum anomaly that...
Can you say quantum anomaly again?
Quantum anomaly.
Quantum anomaly.
Quantum anomaly.
Made a breakthrough regarding the quantum anomaly. Now I'm overthinking it.
There's our cold open.
In 2022, two writers came together to finish what Universal Studios couldn't. A cinematic universe of monster movies called the Dark Universe. After 3 years and 30 scripts, their project was finally completed. Now, in 2025, they're back to attempt what's never been done before, a completely original cinematic universe entirely in podcast form. I'm Dalton DeShane.
And I'm Dylan Roth.
And you are now entering the Pod Universe.
Welcome back to the Pod Universe, the podcast where we attempt to create the world's first all-original sci-fi cinematic universe entirely in podcast form, one pitch at a time, whatever we say.
I had this document right here if you ever want to read it.
I am your Eridai host, Dalton DeShane.
And I'm your Ley-to host, Dylan Roth.
Which one of us do you like more?
That's right. Vote. Cast your vote.
Cast your vote for which species you want annihilated from the universe.
The stakes are high, folks. So welcome back. We are here to finish reading you the script to my space sci-fi opus, Last Flight of the Stone Hammer.
And during our little break, while I was taking some bites of cold pad thai, we were telling Dylan how much we liked his script.
I'm so glad. I was really, really nervous coming into this.
No, I think you're coming out of the gate strong.
I'm not completely, relaxed yet, because obviously I have not yet landed the plane, the spaceship.
The spaceship, yeah.
And there were things about resolving this that I'm very confident in the first act. I'm very confident up to here. It's not going to break my heart if you have notes on the third act.
Okay.
I think I feel pretty good about it.
You feel good that there is a third act?
No, there's definitely a third act.
Great.
And there's
Love
a third
that.
act to my third act. A thing we talk about, new people, we always talk about how every third act needs a third act. Essentially, you need to have a point in your finale where the afterburners hit. Every good action movie or genre movie has this. I don't know how well it applies to character dramas and romances exactly. I have never tried to map it, but in general, your third act should have a third act. I think I have that.
I know how it's going to happen for Los Alamos. I'm worried because you are entirely in your element here. You're writing your space opera, a genre you know forwards and backwards. You're doing it very well. I'm very nervous about my next pitch because it is very outside my wheelhouse. It is luckily in an area of interest for me.
Oh, sure. You were telling me that you've been spending so much time reading books about atomic spies.
Yes,
of the
atomic
30s
spies
40s.
and the Manhattan Project and all that kind of stuff. But it's very different, and it's something that the audience isn't used to for me. But we'll talk about that in a month. For now, one thing I forgot to mention on the last episode is that, yes, the twist from the end of Act 1 was what I feared, which was that this takes place in the Earth year of 2020, apparently.
I mean, there's no reason I should dissemble about it. Yes. That's when this takes place.
When the pod universe comes into creation, and all of a sudden, all quantum particles stop existing in superposition and just have positions.
Yeah. The idea is obviously electrons need to move or life as we know it and everything we think of would stop working. It's just no longer operating at the kind of velocities that we think of as creating infinite probabilities.
So I think both of our versions were an attempt to solve problems while creating others. Mine was that if this was a universe created in this state, then that universe has always been like that. That this is a universe who basically once it branches off, it has its own past that the same rules apply. And so this would be a universe where they have always been still.
Okay.
And the reason is because I didn't want to have to deal with the question of, well, what happens to a universe when suddenly it works one way and then it doesn't anymore? How would that break things? But that is an interesting science fiction question.
But here's the thing. I didn't think that could be what you meant, because if we were never observing the concept of superposition, then we would never even think of what a quantum computer is. There would be no point in the existence of the pod universe where they would ever have conceived of making a quantum computer.
Well, see, that would be the problems that my version creates.
Okay.
While my version creates problems in the past, And yours kind of creates problems in the future, which is like, well, how does life continue existing if we are acknowledging now that everything has stopped? And
my
in
kind
either
of way
case,
that
it's sci-fi.
I try to have my cake and eat it too. By like, it's not as if these molecules are completely stopped, right? Because then a lot of chemical reactions and all these things like it just wouldn't work. They've just slowed down enough that they are observable and useless to my characters in space, or to people trying to make a quantum computer.
Yes,
which is another thing that we.
They no longer exist in superposition, which means they no longer create new branched universes.
Yes, for those of you who need a refresher on this, or who are joining us for this story for the first time, superposition is the notion that when you are trying to observe electrons, for example, that travel so quickly that we cannot establish a fixed position for them, that they are, for our purposes, existing in more than one place at once, which is an essential part of quantum computing, but also part of the multiple worlds theory, which posits that every position that electron could be in, it is in, but in a different instance of the universe.
To use a classic illustration, Schrodinger's cat states that...
Weenie's head just came back up. I wish he was on camera right now. So as soon as you said cat, Weenie's
Don't worry.
What?
Weenie, I'm going to talk about a dead cat.
We're not putting you in a box.
It's not you. Schrodinger's cat explains superposition by saying that when the cat is in the box, it is both alive and dead until the moment you look at the cat, and then it becomes alive or dead once you can observe which one it is. Now,
at that moment, that cat is in superposition.
Yeah. Now, Schrodinger did that because the notion is absurd. It was an illustration to show that the idea of superposition of something existing in two states at once was impossible. But that is what we are able to tell. Now,
that's the best science that we have access to, so that's what we're basing our science fiction on.
Now,
Could be tomorrow someone figures out a thing that blows us all to hell, but these are the physics that we are stuck with now in our universe.
Well, the many worlds interpretation states that in the box, the cat is both alive and dead in two different universes. That once you put the cat in the box, there is now moment to moment. In moment one, there is now a universe where it has died and one where it is alive. In moment two, in the alive one, now that one could be alive or dead. The dead one is still dead. And these things branch off millisecond to millisecond infinitely.
But the idea basically is if you open the box and the cat is alive, that is the universe that you're in. If you open the box and the cat is dead, that is the universe that you are in.
Now, what we're saying now, it seems now, is that you have a box and inside, even though you can't see it, the cat is dead.
The cat is definitely dead.
Yes.
Or definitely alive, if that makes you happy.
But even when it's not observed, it exists in one fixed state.
Yes. It is essentially we have de-quantum quantum physics, which for almost any practical purpose that I'm aware of here on Earth, aside from making a quantum computer, shouldn't matter, or at the very least, maybe I've just killed all electronics. We're not going to acknowledge that. In our science fiction, so far, the only measurable effects you have had is on Earth. They can no longer make a working quantum computer, and in space, the electronic nano engines no longer function.
And this has been the Quantum Minute with two morons.
It's been way more than a minute, but relativity.
This will probably happen frequently on this show, where we will attempt to explain scientific things that we don't fully understand.
We're not scientists.
And so if you're a scientist out there and would like to correct us, write in and we'll read your correction on air.
I did consult some physicists when we were working on Pod People and the Bible for our universe to make sure that there was at least a coherent theory that we were sticking to.
Great.
But these things are always being iterated upon and discovered, and basically the explanations that we're giving you, at the very least, are the rules that govern the world and the stories that you're hearing.
In any case, Dylan's version is now canon because he got to put it in a script before I did. I don't think it will affect Los Alamos in a big way.
The thought had kind of occurred to me that it's possible that it would mess with you.
Hey, that's part of the podcast,
It's part
baby.
of the podcast. Like we did more, like when we were at this point in the last show, we hadn't consulted each other about anything.
Yeah.
So we're going to throw each other a couple curveballs even into this new scenario.
When we did it the first time, we wrote the pitches at the same time. So if they did contradict,
we had to rewrite stuff.
Well, we would have been really fucked.
I remember I added Carol to the post-credit sequence of Jekyll X Hyde because you had just hours earlier read to me the Invisible Man script. And so like I just went into my doc and scribbled an extra name in there so that she would be there.
Luckily, that's as far as it went.
Yeah.
By the way, just so we expect, is there a mid-credits and post-credits scene to this one?
There is a mid-credits scene to this episode.
No post-credits.
No post-credits, but so what will happen is that we will have our score fade out, you will have our final ad break, and then you'll get a mid-credits scene.
Okay. Well...
But before then, we have to finish Act 2. There'll be one more break in between.
Yes. Before we go into Act 2, Part 2, let's get a brief little recap.
There's a lot of proper nouns. Mainly, I'll just give you the proper nouns
for those of you who haven't
where they
listened
currently are. So you heard us talking about what's happened with molecules, right? Their ships are all not working because they were relying on a power source that depends on the certain kind of movement of electrons. Here's the interesting stuff on a story level, I hope. We've got two factions. We've got the Eridai, who are a diverse but cripplingly capitalistic society where everyone has infinite potential and nobody can really do anything because it's expensive. Our avatar for that culture is this guy, Kit, who joined the army to try and pay for some future he hasn't yet figured out, and it's only gotten him into further debt. He has a buddy that he lives with named Shifro, who has 4 arms, and he's a big guy, and he's on the raiding party that he joined to try and get back some stolen goods. Who are those goods stolen by? A group of people called the Ley-to. They are space nomads because their planet was destroyed in what has been labeled a mining accident by the Eridai. They kind of don't care if it's an accident. They lost their planet and most of their people. Since then, the Ley-to have been traveling through space, exacting their revenge on the Eridai and doing some piracy. But there's also like a little extra wrinkle, which is that they live on these ships, and before the introduction of this fancy technology that uses the quantum superposition as fuel, they used to all travel at near light speeds, which meant they were all experiencing time differently. So, for instance, Solna, our leading lady in this movie, who is a soldier, she's from a different ship for whom it has been less time since the planet Ley-to was destroyed than the Stone Hammer, our setting, who have been doing this for longer. Mm-hmm. And who have a different attitude towards it. They're kind of more like Vikings. We'll learn more about what Solna's culture is like in the next section. Anyway, Solna has Kit as her prisoner, and they are traveling through the Stone Hammer.
They're having a midnight run situation.
Yeah, they're kind of getting to know each other a little bit while she tries to get him through their crippled ship towards reuniting with her crew. And we're learning a little bit about them. And one thing we know about Kit is that according to his adorable holographic robot, Beepo, that lives in his head as well as the head of all other Eridai, Beepo tells him that there is a big old bounty on Solna's head because she's on the wanted list for his people. And that could really do quite a bit in helping him dig himself out of the financial hole that he's in. Let's see. Sun Roll is the hotshot pilot and son of the captain of the head. They don't have ranks. He's the voice and the nerve center of the Stone Hammer. His son, Sun Roll,
played by Reb Brown,
not by Reb Brown, by R.J. Kyler. He has just done a daring escape from his doomed fighter craft, but that has led him right into the belly of the beast. He is now captured on the Eridai ship called the Swift Sword, and the person who has captured him is an enemy pilot who has been startlingly good in the air, better than any non-Ley-to is supposed to be at flying in space. Turns out it's because she is a Ley-to named Trena. We cast Ruth Negga in that role, unadvertised. I think it's kind of cool. I don't know. I like when someone shows up as a surprise.
I don't know who she is.
Okay, well, Ruth Negga is a terrific actor of stage and screen. I recently saw her play Lady Macbeth opposite Daniel Craig on Broadway. A lot of people from our Discord might know her as the girl in the flower dress, or AKA Reyna, from the first couple seasons of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. That was kind of her breakout. But since then, she started movies like Loving and Passing. She's awesome. She's very cool. She's got this like a really sweet face and really mean eyes. It's a really good combination. Anyway, she's great. She plays that character. And so we're going to see what's happening there. Other proper nouns to know. Commander Zozo, the commander of the Swift Sword, and there's a insectoid engineer that she's sort of her foil named, I think, Yuli, I think is her name. I think that's everybody. Basically, a Mother Woe is the engineer or the heart of the Stone Hammer. And we cast Michelle Yeoh in that role. Father role is the head, and that's Sterling K. Brown. Yeah, I think that's everything.
All right. Act 2, Part 2.
Cut to a dark corridor aboard the Swift Sword, lit only by the flashlights on the barrels of the Eridai Marines. 4 of them escort the manacled Sun Roll to the brig. At the front of the pack is the pilot they call the Castaway, aka Treyla. The Marines lock Sun Roll behind bars, after which Treyla dismisses them. They are now alone in the room. Treyla pulls up a chair on her side of the bars and adjusts her flashlight so that she and Roll can see each other.
I'm sure you have questions.
Are you here against your will? Are the Eridai somehow forcing you to fight for them?
No.
All right, then I got no more questions.
You don't want to know what ship I came from or why I left it?
Nah, I'm good.
I've been told it's a really good story.
Who told you that? Your new Eridai buddies? Yeah, I'm sure they love it. A Ley-to terrorist discovers the Eridai aren't so bad, actually, and decides to join up with the good guys. Shit, they probably made you a movie of the week.
I've had offers, but they all changed their minds once they heard the real story. Does that pique your interest?
Cut to Solna and Kit traversing the Stonehammer's lower decks. Solna no longer holds the gun to Kit's back.
Why does your name have a number in it?
It's a disambiguation. There are a lot of Kit Altabrios in Eridai space. It's a popular name.
That's funny.
What?
From everything you've told me, Eridai culture is all about celebrating the individual. But every detail only emphasizes your insignificance. How special can you be if there are 59,000 other people just with your name?
All right, then. What's the deal with your name? Are you the only Solna?
I am right now. If I have a daughter, she'll become Solna, and I'll become Sol-La, or Mother Soul in the Stonehammer's parlance.
They arrive in a large open area with high ceilings. Instead of cold metal bulkheads, this area is lush and green. There's a bright sun lamp hanging from the ceiling. It's a small farm, full of flourishing crops. There are even a few flowers blooming.
This place is beautiful. I used to dream about something like this.
Solna shrugs.
It's a farm.
Yeah. Oh man, I've never seen anything like it. Where I come from, the food's all shipped from off-world.
Most Ley-to ships grow their own produce. It doesn't make much sense to steal perishables. It's more efficient to stick to fuel cells, weapons, things we can use to keep the fight going.
Is that all your people think about? Keeping the fight going? Don't you ever... Can't believe I actually get to say this in context. Stop and smell the roses?
My ancestors can't stop and smell the roses. They were killed, suddenly, and in terror. They'll never know peace like
She looks out at the placid homestead.
this. So I shouldn't either. Where I come from, the fight against the Eridai is a very solemn thing. We think about the dead every day. We learn their names, their stories. We learn never to forget them, even for a moment. Everything we do for them. To do anything else would dishonor their memory.
But what about your memory? What about your story?
Solna looks at Kit, then resumes walking through the field, towards a door across the way. Back to Treyla, talking to the imprisoned Sun Roll.
I assume you've heard The Lost Shepherd.
Of course I have. Every Ley-to kid goes through their lost shepherd phase.
Well, that's where I'm from.
Bullshit. You're gonna tell me you're the Treyla, captain of the Lost Shepherd, leader of the Ageless Avengers, that you were born on Ley-to?
I wasn't born on Ley-to,
No shit.
but my mother was.
Uh-huh.
Roll turns his back and paces around his cell as if he's not paying attention.
Her name was Treyla, like me, and she was born at Red Falls on Ley-to. I was born on the Lost Shepherd about 400 years later, by objective measure.
Which would make you...
321, or 48, depending how you count the years I spent at near light speeds experiencing prolonged time dilation. Either way, I think I look pretty good for my age.
You're saying the Lost Shepherd is real?
You said you knew about us.
Yeah, as a bedtime story. Nobody really thinks there's a ship out there full of 700-year-old survivors from the homeworld fighting a never-ending battle to avenge our people. It's just a folktale to remind us what we're fighting for. It's not supposed to be taken literally.
It's real. It was my home, and like everyone else on board, I spent almost every hour of my life on that ship, traveling at relativistic speeds, while days and weeks passed by for the rest of the universe. We slowed down only when we had to, rarely for more than a day at a time, just to refuel, to train in our arrows, to resupply, by trade when we could, by force when we had to. Now and then, someone would choose to stay behind, settle down somewhere, and so our legend grew.
Is that what you did? You got tired of the never-ending battle, decided to mix things up and fight for the winning team?
No. I never would have left the Shepherd deliberately. And what you need to understand is that there never was a never-ending battle. Not for us, anyway. We weren't on a mission of vengeance. All my mother and her shipmates ever wanted was to preserve our traditions somewhere. To memorialize the old Ley-to ways as the centuries passed and the rest of the survivors moved on. It was only once I got stranded during one of our more assertive cargo runs 8 sublight years ago that I realized you never did move on. All across the galaxy, the Ley-to wander from system to system looking for vengeance, keeping the flame of our homeworld alive like the heroes of their favorite bedtime story. It's about the only thing they all still have in common. That's the gift the Lost Shepherd left to their people. A restless existence in arrested development.
Sunroll stares daggers into Trelaw's eyes.
And that's why you fight for the people who killed our world?
No. I needed a job, and this is what I know how to do.
I'd rather starve than kill one of my own.
Your own what? I don't know you. We're from different ships, different centuries.
We fight in your name.
And I never asked you to.
Sunroll stews. He has nothing to say to this. Aboard the Stone Hammer, Solna and Kit traverse a dim corridor. They approach an intersection. From around the corner, there are flashes of light and occasional sounds of gunfire. Kit and Solna peek around the corner. We see the backs of 5 soldiers of differing shapes, sizes, and species. Eridai soldiers, including Shifro. They lean against a barricade made of furniture, looking down a corridor at an opposing Ley-to barricade. Some shots are exchanged. No one is hit. Solna readies her rifle.
Whoa, hold on. Let me handle this. I know those guys. One of them's my roommate. I can get them to stand down.
How?
The Eridai are reasonable people, okay? We're all about mutual self-interest. Everything's a matter of transaction. You just have to offer them something they want, and I have something.
What do you have?
I'll tell you after, okay? Just let me talk to them.
Kit flashes her a boyish smile.
Trust me.
Solna exhales, smiles back faintly, the first we've ever seen from her, then nods. She lowers her rifle. Kit puts his hands up and steps around the corner. Solna stays in cover. Against the near wall, we see Kit's shadow in the spotlight of a dozen barrel-mounted flashlights. Cut to the bridge of the Swift Sword. A console operated by Yuli, the insectoid engineer, lights up.
I've restored long-range sensors. They confirm our findings regarding the quantum anomaly. Electronic movements are far too slow to power our nano-engines.
Commander Zozo swivels her chair to face him.
What is the area of effect? Just how big is this quagmire?
The engineer taps a few keys on her console.
So far as our sensors can measure, Commander, it appears to be happening everywhere.
An alarm sounds on the engineer's console.
Oh, wow.
What now?
Commander, we may have a more immediate problem.
Cut to the corridor where Solna remains in cover. From around the corner, we hear,
It's all right, Solna. You can come out.
Cautiously, Solna pokes her head and her rifle out of cover. Around the corner stands Kit, Shifro, and 2 more Eridai with their guns pointed at the ceiling. 2 more Eridai are in the background, manning the barricade.
It's all right. We've worked it all out. Nobody's gonna hurt you.
Worked what out? What did you...
Without warning, one of Shifro's 4 fists drills into Solna's stomach. Then another hooks her chin. She falls backward and spits up blood.
What the hell, Shifro? You said you wouldn't hurt her.
I said I wouldn't kill her. She's an elite Ley-to warrior. Did you think she was just gonna let us cuff her?
One of the other Eridai leans down and puts a manacle onto one of her wrists, and before he can latch onto the other one, she whips up around him, mounts his shoulders, and tightens into a triangle chokehold. The soldier falls onto his knees. Shifro delivers another massive punch to Solna's head. She falls. While the first Eridai recovers, the 4th one finishes restraining Solna and lifts her to her knees.
Solna, I'm really sorry about this.
She spits more blood onto the deck, at Kit's feet.
You lying bastard.
Hey, I never lied to you. And besides, I was your prisoner, remember? You threatened to kill me I don't know how many times. And I never planned on killing you. In fact, I saved your life. If I hadn't told these guys about the huge bounty on your head, they would have blown you away in a heartbeat.
So you sold me to them.
Call it a trade, if that makes you feel better. Anyway, the bounty is dead or alive, but I negotiated on your behalf. You're welcome.
Come on, Kit. Show us the way to the cargo bay. You think you can just take what's ours?
Hello? You stole it from us, putting me into crushing debt, which I'll still be in now that I have to split the haul with all these guys in exchange for letting you live. Okay? I'm sacrificing something too.
Money. Things. As if that's equal to the life you snuff out.
You don't care about life. Your whole culture is built around vengeance and sacrifice. That's all you live for. You fight so you can keep fighting, all for a home you never knew and can never have back. That's not a life.
Solna stares up at Kit with rage in her eyes until Shifro hoists her up with two of his arms and throws her over his shoulder.
Let's go, Kit.
Kit spares her one last look.
I've got my own debts, Solna.
He turns his back and leads the party back down the corridor. Cut to the bridge of the Stone Hammer. Father Roll leans against the console, consumed with grief. The ops officer approaches him.
Father Roll.
What?
I'm sorry, Father, but we got external sensors back online and there's a situation.
Father Roll doesn't respond.
Unless we get some form of propulsion back online, we're going to collide into the Eridai battleship. Both ships will be destroyed.
End of Act 2. Let's talk one more time about Vampirocene, the new horror novella by our friend Merritt K, which I have read and really enjoyed. But here's the summary that Merritt provided, because it's going to be a lot more efficient than whatever I'm going to add. When viral pop star Janie Mack comes out as a vampire, most people think it's just a play for attention. But when she launches a new movement to stop climate change, people start listening, including charismatic leftist podcaster Ari Rosenbaum, who abruptly quits his popular show to start working for Janie full-time. With his comfortable lifestyle suddenly disrupted, Ari's producer sets out to try and bring him back. But in the process, he's forced to figure out just what it is he really wants for himself and the world, and what he'd be willing to sacrifice to get it. Buy the book at merrittk.itch.io/Vampirocene. That's hard to spell, so it'll be in the description. You can click on it there. This episode is also brought to you by Rogue Centaur's new solo RPG, Return to Blacktail Harbor. Nestled in the Salish Sea, the cozy island of Blacktail Harbor is hosting a wedding. Not everything on this trip is cause for celebration, however. 15 years ago, this town was the center of a spree of grisly murders that devastated the community. Some believe the murders are in the past and that the struggling town can now at last recover. But strange things have begun to happen again. One guest has gone missing. Another swears they're being watched. You fear that for Blacktail Harbor, the worst is yet to come. Return to Blacktail Harbor is a single-player murder mystery journaling game where you play as a guest investigating the mysterious events surrounding the wedding and try to stay alive. The game features randomized characters, clues, and scenarios, as well as 6 potential ending routes, so every playthrough will be a unique and thrilling mystery of your own making. Plus, it's pay what you want, so you can try it out for free. Thanks, Rogue Centaur, for supporting our show, and we hope you, gamers in the audience, will consider checking out Return to Blacktail Harbor. You cannot beat the price. Go to roguecentaur.itch.io/Blacktail to download the PDF.
All right, welcome back to the Pod Universe. We have just wrapped Act 2 of Last Flight of the Stone Hammer.
Yeah, I think a lot of it was in the previous chapter, so that felt... Did it feel short to you?
It was very short.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it was only about 10 script pages, so it's probably about 10 minutes on the podcast. So pretty short second part of Act 2.
There's, I would love to introduce more complications. This is probably where we're going to start to feel my running out of pages. Or running out of words to the word count. This is why I was a little bit worried about part 2. I cut as much as I possibly could from the first half.
Yeah.
I think you can tell it was pretty lean. I don't think you could look at anything and say there's a lot of fat there. A lot of bits had to go. Entire characters went. Here is where I would really have loved to maybe have some more time with Solna and Kit. Maybe having now established a dynamic, maybe now they have to test the dynamic with Shifro and the gang. I think it would be great if here we could maybe have a little ambiguity about whether or not Kit has decided to sell out Solna, maybe have it be a little bit on the fence, maybe have a little bit of time for him to have agreed with Shifro to sell her out, but there's some reason they can't do it yet, like they need her help for something. And then you have to kind of sit with the suspense, with the feeling in his gut of whether or not he wants to go through with it, and then ultimately deciding to go through with it. That I don't have here.
Yeah, I would say you definitely solved the problem of maybe Kit being too relatable. I think you have successfully complicated his character to the point where if an audience member at this point was like, very attached to Kit as their sort of viewpoint character, I think this is... I don't think it's a completely despicable move, right? Because they are in conflict with each other. He was a prisoner, and now he's turned the tables. But it also feels like they were sort of reaching a point of connection and equilibrium, which then he upsets by turning the tables. So it is definitely sort of an infuriating, and he does it for money, right? So it's like an infuriating move, but also understandable. But
I'm hoping it doesn't come out of nowhere. I tried to plant stuff all along.
No, it doesn't come out of nowhere.
There was an earlier draft where he was a little bit more guileless. And I realized that like the bounty thing was actually a fairly late addition when I was realizing that Kit was just a ping pong ball here, and he was too likable and he was too nice, and there wasn't enough change for him.
No, I think that's good. I think the fact that he does it for the bounty is a good complication for him.
I tried to establish the idea that, so he comes from a society where I hope I have established that everyone is considered to be completely responsible for themselves, and the idea of helping somebody is like, it's almost like you wouldn't think to do it unless it was somebody you were really close to. And then it's a selfish thing to do, right? And so the fact that he thinks of it as being he's met her halfway by giving up a lot of his haul to keep her alive. A thing that he values even though he doesn't think that she does.
Yeah.
That all plays?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that all plays. The one thing, that I think speaks to what you were saying earlier about what you'd like to happen here is I think the first half of Act 2 does a good job at balancing Sun Roll. I keep forgetting these people's names.
It's okay. It's a lot of them. And if I could go back, like I would maybe have changed Solna's name.
Solna.
Okay.
Solna and Kit having very talky scenes, but that's balanced with Sun Roll having the action sequence in space. And so you can kind of go between action and talking. I think and this is partly just how we've cut it up, with our Act 2, Act 3 stuff.
But we jumped right into a section. It's all very talky.
It's just cutting between two talk sections. And I think to your point about maybe testing their dynamic, it would be good if there was... Because I think you also leave the act in a good place with these ships are going to crash into each other. That's good stakes there. But it also kind of comes up out of nowhere. And I mean, it makes sense, right? That these ships are about to crash into each other.
They've been drifting, and this is like the first time. It's been happening the whole time. They just had no way of knowing.
But it's like talking, stakes, cliffhanger, and then we leave off. And so
a little rising action here would be nice.
I think the talking that is happening is good. And obviously I like the Kit twist. I don't know if there is some way to make just up the tension of the Trela and Sun Roll thing. So even if they were talking, it felt more urgent somehow. Maybe that would help accomplish it. Maybe put them both in peril, but still have Sun Roll be in the...
I'm be turning up the heat on them very, very soon. But definitely, I think what I would prefer to do, because Sun Roll was in action that whole time, right? I would love to be able to do what you were talking about, where we can kind of let them simmer and crank up the heat on the other storyline. There was a plot that I wanted to do. Like I introduced that child soldier, and I returned to them at some point. I wanted there to be a point where Kit and Solna had to basically get into the middle of the actual firefight between the boarding party and the Ley-to. And I could not figure out a way to do that without introducing a whole other plot I didn't have room for.
Yeah.
That, if I were to do another draft of this, and I was going to try and expand this to kind of like go a little bit bigger, that is the one thing I'd most like there. I think what this part of the movie could use, the second half of Act 2 could use, is a part of the story where Solna is traveling with the Eridai, getting more of a sense of who they all are versus who Kit is. Kit is struggling with his decision, while his gang is all certain that he's going to do what they want him to do, which is to deliver the goods and sell her out, blah, blah, blah. And that while they're doing that, one of the things that tests the dynamic is they end up in direct conflict with a group of Ley-to that includes that child. And that could do two things. One, it could reinforce Kit's negative opinion of the Ley-to. That, like, you don't even care that you're putting this child in harm's way, right? Whereas, of course, from Solna's point of view, no, you're put the child in harm's way by blowing up their homeworld and then boarding their ship, right?
There could also be something in, what if in that conflict, Solna actually makes the decision to shoot at her own people to save the life of someone in their group, and then Kit still betrays her.
Yeah, that would be cool. Like, so she makes it big. Like right now, the sacrifice that she's making for him essentially is keeping him alive.
Yeah,
and that's sort of a thing that he repays back to her. But there's also the added monetary stakes, which are more urgent to him. I like this because she has to betray her principles. Right? She has to do something to kind of demonstrate that he's become important to her. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
And I think it would also help to move us closer to where I want in the finale. This is the spot. This portion here is where I most feel like I would really wish there was more. But I think it's helpful that we both kind of know what should go there. And like it's not canon, didn't happen for those of you who are sticklers, because if it's not in the script or we don't agree that it did happen in the story. But like, there's also the kind of thing where like I inserted that kid into the fight in this sense of raising the stakes, when really all I ended up doing with that character is adding the further subtext to the stakes. I think it still works. I didn't want to remove the kid. I think that helps to paint who the Ley-to are.
Yeah.
But I would like to have that conversation in there. That's just another 10 pages of the script that I couldn't add given our current constraints.
Sure.
And I'm not mad about it either, which is nice. I think that I'm happy what we have, but that's obviously what I would add in.
These are still pitches.
Yes.
Now I do have a little question here.
Hit me.
On some, what are they called? Traylo?
Trayla? And time dilation and everything?
What is the race called?
Ley-to.
The Ley-to. I have a Ley-to question.
Okay.
Because I actually noticed a detail here.
Okay.
But then I want to know if I'm wrong or if you screwed up.
Okay.
I'm probably just wrong. Sol Na says on page 51 of your script, her name is Sol Na. If she has a daughter, the daughter will become Sol Na, and she will be Sol La as the mother, because that means mother soul.
Yes.
Trayla
is a mother.
Does
not come up here, but it's kind of part of the backstory I have for her head, which maybe kind of jades her to this whole thing.
Okay, because my thing was like, I put together in my head, I was like, oh, Trayla has a daughter, so that will be part of her story, is that she has a daughter. And then she was like, I am the daughter, and she talks about her mother, and I was like, well, then shouldn't she be Trey-na?
It's one of those things where I could have put more into this. Like it's one of those things that like people are just going to have to look and be like, oh, there's like another detail about her character they can put together themselves.
Yeah,
it wasn't urgent enough to this story, but like I have like a whole kind of tie-in comic about Trayla's journey in my head, about how like she went on this raid and she got left behind, and she knows that in the time, but like that her daughter is now assuming like she's going on with her life, and probably by the time they've realized that she might not be dead, like they're now 60 years apart.
Yeah.
But it wasn't the thing I wanted to make a big deal on this, because I'm not writing Interstellar,
Yeah.
But there is one of those things where it's like having her be Trayla, first of all, means that the naming conventions don't make her the same as Sol Na, like keeping them a little bit separate. But also it's kind of thing to be like, no, that's extra texture to her character that we can read in, that doesn't have to be part of the story. It can be something that can be explored later if this character returns in anything, right?
So I did catch the detail,
catch something.
right?
Yes, she is. She does have it. She did pass her name on to a daughter that is not part of this story. But one of the things I like about something like this, about the original Star Wars or something like that, or any of these things, is that you have these opportunities to create these little implications of the larger world that are not part of this story, but that help you to imagine the stories you're not seeing. It's that thing that like we talk about, like the brilliance of, even if it wasn't in the original print of the movie because the studio thought it would be too confusing. George Lucas wrote Star Wars to be the 4th chapter in a series you'd never see. The idea was, you are jumping into the story. Stuff has happened. They make reference to the Clone Wars. They make reference to like all this. The regional governors are taking over from the Senate, which has been disbanded. These are all things that ended up being in the prequels. But as much as revisionist history says it was part of the plan, he never had any intention of writing these other movies. This was one movie. Vader was not Luke's father until they were in the middle of writing Episode 5. Okay, and that's cool. Right? There's little things about this world that I know and I can plant little hints for, and that people can imagine the bigger stories even if they're not part of this story.
And then we see them in phase 2.
Maybe. That's the thing, is that we do know that we're making more stories, right? So it's smart for me if I have that impulse that I'm like, oh, this implies other stories. Be like, imply away, because maybe we'll use it.
Yeah, in the prequel, the second to last flight of the Stone Hammer.
Well, the thing is, you could do a prequel about the Lost Shepherd if you wanted to, right? There's a lot of...
But no, The Lost Shepherd is the streaming series that comes out of
we signed Ruth Negga to a whole thing. She's actually going to play her mother and herself.
Yeah.
All right. Do you have any other things you want to talk about?
No, I think we can go into Act 3 and see how this all wraps up.
Act 3. Cut to the bridge of the Swift Sword, which has also had auxiliary power restored. The lights are on, some consoles are working, and everyone's working frantically around Commander Zozo, who stands in the center directing traffic. Trayla climbs up through a hatch in the floor towards the aft. She stands and dusts herself off.
Reporting as ordered, Commander.
Finally, someone who's good at their job. Welcome to the bridge. We're in a crisis situation and I need your experience. We finally got external sensors working off of battery power, only to find out that the Stone Hammer is going to ram into us in about an hour. We've got no engines, no shields, no ship-to-ship weapons, no primary power of any kind. The problem's being caused by something beyond our influence, and we can't count on our EN core working again, maybe ever. We need another way to avoid the collision.
Is there any reason an old fusion-powered engine would be affected by the new quantum conditions?
I wouldn't think so, but the Swift Sword's brand new. We don't have a fusion engine.
We don't. The Stonehammer does.
Cut to the bridge of the Stonehammer. The crew, including Father Roll, has essentially stopped work. They're just watching out the window as the Swift Sword grows closer. Enter Mother Woe, who hurries to Roll's side.
Roll, I heard what happened. I'm so sorry.
At least I'll get swift vengeance for my son. In about 52 minutes, we all die. Woe looks out the window.
Damn. That might be enough time to spin up the old fusion engines, but with the damage they sustained in our first collision with the Eridai.
You did warn me. I don't suppose there's time for repairs. Woe shakes her head. The Ley-to ops officer speaks up.
Father Roll.
It's just Roll now.
I'm sorry. Roll. We've got ship-to-ship comms back online. We're getting a signal from the Eridai ship.
Perhaps they wish to discuss the terms of their surrender.
Father Roll throws up his hands. Sure. Why not? Maybe I can get the last word in with the animals who killed my...
Dad?
Son Roll's voice rings over the PA. Roll?
Yeah, Dad. It's me.
Father Roll reels in Mother Woe in a sudden desperate hug. She abides. The rest of the bridge crew cheers. It's good to hear your voice, son. Now what the hell are you doing over there? Don't tell me you commandeered an Eridai battleship all by yourself. Cut to Son Roll on the Swift Sword Bridge, still in irons.
Wish I could, but I was just asked to make an introduction.
Pull back to reveal Commander Zozo and Trela.
This is Commander Janakai Zoso, 22 of the Eridai starship Swift Sword. To whom am I speaking?
On the Stonehammer, Father Roll wipes tears off his face and clears his throat. This is Father Roll, head and voice of the Ley-to body Stonehammer. And in about 50 minutes, we're going to have a very violent meeting. Intercut between the two bridges.
Not necessarily. I understand your ship still has a working fusion drive.
Working is overselling it a bit. It hasn't been hooked up in centuries, and the engines got smashed when you rammed your nose up our ass earlier.
That was hardly my fault.
Trela cuts in.
That's not important right now. Father Roll, is the engine reparable?
Father Roll looks to Woe. She answers.
We need an EVA crew of about 40 to realign the output, and that's on top of the work we'd have to do internally. We don't have enough hands on board to do the work.
Yes, you do. The Stonehammer has nearly 50 able-bodied astronauts already suited up right now. My Marines. On my order, they will cease fire and report to you for EVA repair duty.
You're joking. Your people will lay down their arms and take orders from us?
Father Roll, above all, my people want to live. If any of my soldiers are eavesdropping on this conversation, then they're already on their way to the airlock.
Cut to the lower decks, where word has clearly gotten around about the collision and repair plans. Eridai soldiers retreat from their battlements in double time. A brigade of Ley-to cheer, under the mistaken assumption that they've scared them off, at least until Mother Woe's voice comes in over the shipwide PA to brief them on the new danger. In one such corridor, Kit leads Shifro and the 4 other Eridai towards the cargo bay, which happens to be in the opposite direction that everyone else is running. Shifro still carries the bound Solna on his shoulders. For the moment, she's cooperating, biding her time, staring a hole in the back of Kit's head.
Hey, maybe we ought to table this whole pillaging idea until after we've stopped the ship from crashing.
The 4 other Eridai seem to agree. Shifro scoffs.
Fine. You guys go do the Ley-to's grunt work. I'll be down here getting rich.
The Eridai all turn around, including Kit, but Shifro stops him.
Nuh-uh, not you. You still gotta lead me to the loot. It's not like a runt like you is gonna be much help out there.
Kit's eyes say, come on, man.
I meant it affectionately. Now lead on.
Solna watches as the other 4 Eridai hurry off. The odds are evening up. Cut back to the 2 bridges. Suppose the second the repairs are finished, we haul ass out of here, lock our portholes, and just wait for all your Marines to run out of air.
Don't forget, Father, I've still got your son, and he's not setting foot on the Stonehammer until my crew and I are safely aboard.
I'll give you credit. The Eridai are greedy, cruel, and soulless, but you're not stupid. We'll greet your survivors in our starboard hangar. My son will lead you there. Stonehammer out. We remain now in the Stonehammer Bridge, where Mother Woe starts for the exit. Father Roll stops her with a hand on her shoulder. Woe. The second that engine's back in line, I want you to kill as many of those Eridai bastards as you can.
What about Sun Roll?
Let me worry about that. Just thin the herd and get back in one piece if you can. Can you? Woe smirks.
50 Eridai Marines? On a zero-gravity battleground? Please. I'm Ley-to. It'd take at least 100 to kill me.
Cut to the Swift Sword Bridge. Members of the bridge crew are funneling out through the hatch that Trela arrived through. She, Sun Roll, and Zozo are towards the back of the line to exit. Zozo leans in close to Treyla so that Sunroll can't hear them speak.
Once the Stonehammer is out of danger, I'll need your help to take the bridge. Can you handle that? Killing your own people face to face is different from blasting their fighters out of the air.
I'm getting tired of explaining this. I don't have any people.
Zozo nods with a cocky sneer. Cut to a pair of heavy metal doors opening to reveal the Stonehammer cargo bay. Kit leads Shifro inside. Solna lays across Shifro's upper shoulders in a fireman's carry, wrists bound. They walk past daughter Sid's body. Kit looks down briefly with regret, then moves on.
Here it is. Everything the Ley-to stole from Sinks 23118 and then some.
From Shifro's POV, we can see his beepo tally up the value of the cargo. The cartoon robot rubs his hands together excitedly. Shifro smiles, then looks down at Kit and sighs.
What is it?
See, this shit ain't fair. I promised myself I'd never let a good opportunity pass me by. But you're my best friend.
Shifro raises his rifle and aims it at Kit's chest.
It really sucks that I have to kill you.
Shifro, what are you doing?
Back when there were 6 of us, it made sense to split the loot. After all, how was any of us going to get the upper hand against the other 5? But now that it's just you and me, I gotta go for it. You understand, right? I mean, it's a shit ton of money.
Solna watches from atop Shifro's shoulders as Kit backs away with his hands up.
Come on, man. We came here together. You talked me into this in the first place.
Yeah, and that really worked out well for me. Look at what you found, man. And when you think about it, it's worth a lot more to me than it is to you. I mean, you were going to use it to dig yourself halfway out of debt. But me, I can live real good off of this. And it's all thanks to you, bro. I appreciate you.
Shif, please.
Shifro aims.
Been nice knowing you, Runt. And I really do mean it affectionately.
Just as he fires, Solna shifts her weight and knees Shifro in the face. He recoils and she pivots around to wrap her legs around his neck and pull hard, throwing him onto his head. Solna rolls to a stop at Kit's feet.
His gun. Get the gun.
Kit hurries to pick up Shifro's rifle, then turns to Solna.
Reach your arms as far back as you can.
Solna stretches her arms out behind her. Kit wedges the rifle between her back and her wrists and shoots her manacles apart, freeing her. Solna immediately punches Kit in the jaw. He stumbles back.
Ow! Come on, I just freed you.
Yes, because you need me to save your worthless life.
So why'd you save me in the first place?
Shifro rises to his feet and growls. Blue blood leaks from a nasty gash in his forehead.
Because it's easier than fighting him alone.
See? Mutual self-interest. It works.
Shifro charges ahead, 2 of his 4 fists forward, and we cut to the engine room, where dozens of Ley-to frantically pull cables from the walls, while still more workers run new cables behind them. We follow the cables down twisty corridors and service tunnels to the heart of the ship. Behind the dim spherical nano-engine core, and there all along, is another, bulkier generator, its surface rusty but intact. It starts to glow green. Out on the surface of the ship, dozens of helmeted Eridai Marines step carefully across the hull of the Stonehammer towards the aft engines. At the head of the pack is Mother Woe, clad in her own ancient ornate spacesuit and practically running across the hull, magnetizing and demagnetizing her boots in perfect time with her steps. We hear her voice through the shortwave channel.
You call that spacewalking? Come on, show me you belong out here.
Cut to the Stonehammer hangar, whose doors are open to space. A small team of armored Ley-to fists stands by as dozens of Eridai arrive via zip cable. Cut to the launch bay of the Swiftsword, the same area Kit and Shifro jumped from during the battle. Zozo, Treyla, and Sunroll watch as the last of the crew zips off ahead of them. Zozo clips herself to the cable, then clips Sunroll in front of her.
That ought to dissuade any snipers from taking a shot at me while we're crossing over. You think my dad will betray you? I know your dad will betray me. Just as he knows I'll kill him, and you, and everyone else on board the moment they become more dangerous than useful. That's called being a grown-up.
Treyla nods the 2 of them, then attaches to a cable and zips across the gap in space.
Pity you'll never be one.
Zozo pushes forward and she and Sunroll jump out of the Swiftsword. As they traverse, Zozo looks back at her lifeless vessel. In front of her, a holographic beepo display appears. Projected damages, followed by an ungodly high number.
I really should have bought the insurance plan.
In the cargo bay, Shifro swings his right arms wildly at Solna. She parries the upper one, but the lower one lands hard in her solar plexus. We hear something crack. A few feet away, Kit dives for the discarded rifle. He takes aim at Shifro, but Shifro picks up Solna and holds her between them, using her as a shield. Kit hesitates. Shifro throws Solna at Kit. He tries to catch her, but can't brace himself. He falls backward and she lands on top of him face to face.
We need a plan.
I'm listening.
They roll apart just as Shifro drops a pair of elbows right where they just laid. They quickly get to their feet.
Find Brink's body.
Who?
The man you shot. He was armed.
Shifro can hear all of this, and when Kit flees the fight, he turns to follow, but Solna is now running for Shifro's rifle, and he can't allow that. He goes after the more immediate threat, running at Solna and throttling back for a double punch. She dodges, but can't grab the rifle. She boxes him, ducking and weaving and scoring jabs and kicks at his ribs and shins when she can. This is not going to beat him, but it might buy some time. Elsewhere in the cargo bay, Kit sprints through the stacks and crates, poking his head around every corner.
Where is it? Shit, you think I'd remember where I shot it? Gah!
He nearly trips over the limp body of a tall, fit man in tactical gear. There's a bullet hole in his forehead. That's Brink, all right, and his rifle lies beside him, hanging from a leather strap across his chest. Kit looks down at him and fights his gag reflex. Cut to the aft hull, as Woe and the Eridai Marines turned work crew dismantle the bent cowling around the old fusion engine. A team of 10 soldiers slowly pushes a massive nozzle back into alignment. Woe opens a channel.
Engine room, where's my power?
Below, the engineering crew fastens a few more cables to the glowing fusion core.
We need 3 more minutes.
Outside, Woe watches the Swift Sword grow closer and closer.
You've got 1.
Cut to Solna and Shifro wrestling over the rifle. It's 4 arms versus 2 much smaller ones. She doesn't have a chance. Solna knees Shifro in the gut, but he holds on. She tries to kick him in the groin, but he drops one of his hands to intercept.
Ooh, you're nasty.
He headbutts her in the nose, breaking it. She lets go of the rifle and falls onto her back. It takes everything she's got just to get onto her elbows and look her killer in the eye. Shifro stands over her and aims the rifle.
I can see why Kit likes you, but love don't pay the bills, am I right?
Stop!
Kit has arrived, his rifle aimed at Shifro's back.
Hands up. All of them.
Shifro doesn't budge.
Oh, get real, Kit. You're not gonna kill me. Shit, you wouldn't kill her, and you just met her today. I'm your best friend.
Stop saying that. It's bumming me out. I've made a lot of bad life choices in the past 2 days, but killing you would not be one of them.
Face it, Kit. In real life, there are players and there are pussies, and you're not a player. You're not a killer.
Kit sighs.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Kit adjusts his aim, not at Shifro, but at one of the barrels next to him. There's a familiar sticker on it, the one that means flammable. Kit fires, puncturing the gas canister, which blasts flames into Shifro's face. Just like Sid, he drops his rifle to cover his face and try to smother the fire, but he's not wearing the shoulder strap. The rifle falls to the floor between him and Solna. Weakened but conscious, Solna crawls towards the rifle. She gets a hand on it. Then Shifro pounces on it, pressing it to the deck with his 2 lower hands and reeling back for punches with the other 2. He looks up at Solna, his face still smoldering, and roars. Before he strikes, Kit dives onto Shifro's back, wedging his rifle between Shifro's upper arms and the back of his neck, keeping him from punching forward. Solna and Shifro scream in each other's faces. Then Solna delivers a headbutt right into his sizzling nose. She pulls back, a few cinders on her forehead. She headbutts him again and again. Finally, Shifro takes his weight off the rifle. Solna pulls it towards her, swivels it around, and shoots Shifro between the eyes. Shifro falls backwards, most of his weight landing on Kit. Solna struggles to her feet and rolls the massive 4-armed man off of Kit. He clutches his chest, ribs broken. Solna looks down at Kit.
You couldn't just shoot him?
Yeah, I have some regrets.
She reaches down and helps pull him to his feet. They're face to face, inches apart. There's a pause, a breath. Will they? The ship lurches forward. They struggle for balance. Cut to an exterior view of the stone hammer, lurching ever closer to the Swift Sword. Only now its aft fusion engine spark to life. Woe pumps her fist. The Marines behind her celebrate. In the engine room, the Ley-to gearheads cheer as green light streaks through the freshly laid cables. Cut to the bridge. Father Roll and his crew look out the starboard windows, which are entirely taken up by the Swift Sword. Overhead lights, dim for hours, finally flicker to life. Consoles activate. Controls unlock.
Main power restored.
Full speed ahead, now! Outside, the sparks in the engines become roaring nuclear fire. The stone hammer starts to build forward momentum. On the bridge, come on, come on. Outside, Woe stands firm as the Swift Sword draws closer, scrapes against the side of the stone hammer's hull, and then falls backward as the hammer pulls away. On the bridge, the crew erupts with joy.
Dad!
Father Roll turns to see that Sunroll, along with Trelaw and Commander Zozo, have arrived on the bridge. The father and son throw their arms around each other. After a long embrace, Father Roll gets his first look at Trelaw. Who the hell is this?
That's gonna take some explaining.
Don't bother.
Trelaw pulls a sidearm from behind her back and aims it point blank at Father Roll's head. She fires, but Sunroll pulls his father to the floor, narrowly avoiding the blast. Everyone on deck pulls a weapon. Trelaw grabs Sunroll by the collar and holds him at gunpoint, while Zozo takes aim at the father. It's a standoff.
Surrender now and I'll only kill you. I'll let your son live, along with anyone else on your crew who's willing to cooperate.
You don't think I'm willing to sacrifice my own blood? You don't think we'd all rather die than serve the Eridai? Because we will. And without us, you won't have enough hands to drive such an old analog starship. Especially since right now, as we speak, our heart is slaughtering your Marines. Cut to the hull. Mother Woe darts between Eridai soldiers, dual-wielding pistols, dancing effortlessly on the metal deck plates while the Eridai clumsily try to evade gunfire wearing magnetized boots. They don't stand a chance. Back to the bridge.
Well then, I guess we all go out together, don't we? And you wouldn't have it any other way. No, he wouldn't.
Father Roll's eyes flick to meet his son's.
Defeating the Eridai is more important to him than his life. Or mine.
Close on Father Roll. His heart breaks because it's true.
We've all been living that way.
Attention swivels to the main entrance, where Solna and Kit stand in the threshold, bloodied, leaning on each other.
We've never known anything else, and look where it got us.
She turns to Father Roll.
Tell Mother Woe to surrender.
What? No!
Father Roll, you told me once that we were equals. Family. I'm asking you to treat me that way. Please. Call her off. She'll listen to you.
Father Roll looks at Zozo. If I call for a ceasefire, will you do the same?
What do you care?
Will you do it?
Yes.
Father Roll taps a control. Mother Woe, stand down! On the hull, Woe sits on an Eridun's shoulders, about to drill into the top of his skull with her pistols.
What?
On the bridge, cease fire!
Zozo to all Marines, cease fire!
On the hull, Woe sees 30 or so surviving Marines release their weapons, which float in front of them. She lets go of her pistols. On the bridge, everyone cautiously lowers their weapons. All right, now what? We all pack up and go home?
What, with these old fusion engines? They don't have relativity compensators.
Which means wherever we go from here, decades will have passed by the time we get there, even if it's only days for us. You can bet that whenever we get there, this war will still be raging.
Or maybe not. If this quantum anomaly really is happening everywhere, then the Eridon fleet will be in shambles.
But ours won't be. Practically every Ley-to ship still has its old fusion engine installed. We finally have the advantage. We could join the fight. Doesn't matter if centuries pass in transit. We could fight on like the Lost Shepherd, except now we might actually win.
Win what?
Kit finally speaks up, still leaning on Solna.
All day I've been trying to figure out the win condition for the Ley-to, and I got nothing. If the war ever actually ended, you wouldn't know what to do with yourselves.
After a moment, Trelaw takes a step backward and releases son Roll.
What are you doing, Lieutenant?
I'm not going to be a part of this. There's nothing in this for me anymore. Like I said, I don't have any people.
Kit steps forward.
But you could. I was alone too. I thought I was part of something, but I wasn't. And I'd like to be. To be what? A Ley-to? No. I don't like what I've seen of that either.
You have no idea what it means to be Ley-to.
Neither do you. None of us do. We've been isolated for so long, separated from each other by time and distance, we can't even agree on what being Ley-to means anymore.
Son Roll looks at Trelaw, then turns to his father.
It's time to move on.
Kit carefully lets go of Solna and carries his own weight. He crosses to Zozo.
There's nothing waiting for us back home but colossal debt and the endless grind. We can start over. Come from anywhere, be anything. Let's be something new. Not Eridon, not Ley-to, not Swiftsword, not Stonehammer.
Zozo looks down at the runt. She cracks a smile.
I'm sorry. Who are you?
Kit extends a bruised hand.
I'm Kit. Kit.
Kit looks over at Solna and smiles.
Just Kit. The one and only.
Solna smiles back. No one else in the room gets it. Cut to an exterior shot of the Stonehammer picking up speed and leaving the remains of the Swiftsword behind, along with all the other baggage they brought with them. Crossfade to Mother Woe training Yuli and a few other Eridai survivors on how to maintain the fusion engine. On the bridge, Zozo walks the deck, barking orders. The Ley-to crew is not responsive. Father Roll steps in, stops her, and coaches her through a less authoritative approach. Then to the mess hall, where Trelaw shares her story with a group of excited children. Son Roll sits with the kids, everyone's favorite uncle, a wondrous smile of his own on his face. Then, to the farm. A dozen or so workers, Ley-to and Eridai, are planting seeds by hand. One of them steps to where a table and a cooler of water have been set up. He wipes his brow. It's Kit. He takes a sip and looks out at the work being done with satisfaction.
Do you mind?
Kit looks down at the source of the voice. A woman lies on a makeshift beach blanket, wearing something loose and comfortable. With her hair down, you almost can't tell it's Solna.
You're in my light.
Kit laughs.
Oh, well, excuse me. Some of us are trying to work around here.
You've been out there all day. There's no hurry. It's not like you have to stay ahead of the weather.
She indicates some free space on her blanket.
I wouldn't mind the company.
Kit smiles, tempted. He looks back out at the other workers in the field.
Nah, I can't leave them hanging.
He finishes his water, then refills it and hands the cup down to her.
But maybe later.
Solna watches him trot back to the field and join the other farmers. Then she lays back, looks up towards the artificial sun, and lets out a long, contented sigh. Finally, we crossfade back to space and watch the old Ley-to vessel cruise to space, headed in no particular direction at no urgent speed. As it passes, we see fresh paint on the hull. The Lost Shepherd 2. Fade to black. This episode has been brought to you by Mad Scientist Anthony Bowman's unholy creation, the Frankencast. If you're missing Frankenstein after the conclusion of the Dark Universe, the Frankencast has been watching and discussing Frankenstein movies for over 200 episodes. Each week,
how many Frankenstein movies are there?
That was my thought. I did not go through there, but apparently there's a lot. Each week, Mad Scientist Anthony Bowman and deranged lab assistant Eric Velasquez analyze and discuss a different Frankenfilm in conversations that range from insightful to absurd. Join them in the lab every Frankenstein Friday, wherever you get your podcasts. Mid-credits scene. Cut from black to a holographic diagram of the Milky Way galaxy, projected above the table in the captain's stateroom aboard the Lost Shepherd 2. 7 figures stand around the table, lit only by the glow of the hologram. 2 of the figures, Mother Woe and Yuli, step in front of the hologram and address the group.
We brought you here because Yuli and I have made a breakthrough regarding the quantum anomaly that, well, brought us here. At the time that it happened, we were convinced that all our scanning equipment was offline for the duration of the event. But there's something we hadn't considered.
A second hologram appears, projected not from the table, but from the engineer's head. Hi, everyone! I'm Beepo, and I'm so glad to be of help. In a reverse angle, everyone else present rolls their eyes. That's Kit, Solna, Zoso, Trela, and father and son roll.
Oh God, it's not him. We realized that while all of our shipboard sensors lost power when the nano engines cut out, there were still nearly 100 Beepos in the area, scattered aboard and between our 2 vessels, all constantly recording data.
Of course! I'm always with you. Like your favorite song.
That meant not only did we have live sensor readings from the event, we had enough readings to construct a 4-dimensional model of the event itself, which means...
you can triangulate its source.
Exactly. We still can't tell you what it was or how it worked, but we can tell you where it started.
The engineer taps a control, and the hologram zooms in until it displays only a single planet. Earth. What planet is that?
That's the craziest part. We don't know. They're not spacefaring. From what we can tell via long-range scanners, they're centuries behind our level of technology.
How could some backwater planet change the laws of physics for the entire universe?
And why?
Woe shrugs.
I don't know.
She smiles.
But don't you want to find out?
Cut to black.
All right, we got some no prizes to give out.
Okay, yeah, there are a couple people who did nail some of the stuff that was going to happen.
Yeah, a couple people got some correct
While you're looking that up, big round of applause for Sarah Norcross.
Yes,
thank you so much for reading this one for us. I do not know how we could have done this without a third person, frankly, and you did a great job.
Quantum anomaly.
Quantum anomaly.
Well, it's kind of funny being like, realizing that I have been writing and saying things about like relativistic speeds and quantum anomalies and stuff like that my entire life. And a lot of people don't.
These aren't things that I'm unfamiliar with.
Sure.
But they're not things that I say out loud on the regular.
Yeah, we are part of your daily
of
conversations. Yes, we are. I mean, it'll all be cut out, but I was having a really hard time getting through a lot of my narration just because of how long we've been doing this.
Shout out to Ben on Blue Sky, who thought that the change in quantum physics would stop warp drives from working, which is a extremely specific guess to just pull out of your ass and get right.
Really good.
And shout out to Fighter Class of 03 on Instagram, who said that it will end with the 2 warring sides coming to an understanding and uniting towards a common enemy, the planet Earth.
To be clear, we haven't necessarily said that they've identified Earth as an enemy.
That's true.
They just want to find out what happened.
They just want to answer some questions.
Yes.
No tripods though.
No
Sorry,
tripods.
everyone. No
Again,
tripods.
I had thought about it. Like there wasn't really ever a time that I could have added one.
What do you mean by a tripod?
Oh, you weren't here for this conversation.
From War of the Worlds.
War of the Worlds, they have the tripods.
Yes.
They thought maybe we're teasing that these would be the aliens from War of the Worlds, and they would have
Okay.
tripods.
Also,
That's cute.
I think Roxanne was correct that this did have big space nautical battles.
Oh yes, absolutely, yeah.
We also did get, even though it's not an alien that is marketable and cuddly, we did get Beepo.
Oh yeah, and if you think that Jenna and I haven't had conversations about making Beepo merch, then
Yeah,
you're
we
out
should
of your
have
mind.
Beepo merch.
We should have. I
should
have a couple
absolutely
artists
have
in
Beepo
mind
merch.
to design Beepo and put Beepo on a shirt and a hat.
Now,
And maybe it's out right now. If it is, you'll see on your screen in the video version or in the description on the audio version where you can go to buy Beepo merch.
but probably not yet.
But what is the address for our merch again?
Shop.thepoduniverse.com.
Where you will find stuff like the hat that Dalton's wearing that says Pod Universe
and
a-
possibly two posters
possibly
for
two posters. Oh, right,
this
because one of the
film?
things we didn't talk about last time. I'd love to talk about the marketing for the movie.
Wait, before we get to the marketing,
Okay.
I just need to know, did you come up with the name Beepo before or after you played as Sarah and I's Super Nintendo power-up bands where our names were Beepo and Beppo?
Oh no, Beepo has been in the script since long before our trip.
Okay.
Beepo was in the first
Because
draft.
you were Beepo.
I was.
Because Sarah, that's the name that Sarah
we were
put
Beeps
on.
and Boops.
Oh,
We
was it
were
Beeps and Boops?
We were Beeps and Boops.
Okay.
I would have
Usually
definitely
we're
made a
Beepo
mental
and
note if we'd been
Beppo.
Beepo.
Often Dalton and I are Beepo and Beppo.
Well,
Yeah.
that was an complete accident. Beepo just felt like a good name for something like this, and it hadn't been officially used. Although I do think there might be a Star Trek, like a snarky Star Trek critic who refers to Data as Beepo. But
And there's Beeple, the NFT artist, of
yeah,
course.
well,
And
whatever.
if anyone wants some Sarah lore, I have OCD, and one of my compulsions, like probably my most long-standing and harmless compulsion, is to shout beep.
Is to beep.
Is to just beep constantly.
She's a beeper.
I
yeah.
feel like I've never heard you do that. I guess we don't spend enough time together.
It's a compulsion that comes in times of comfort, like when I'm feeling
and I'm
kind of
just
relaxed.
too stressful to have around.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
really
Here's the thing.
uncomfortable being
Yes.
around you.
I beep a lot in bed. I beep a lot on the couch. I beep across the dinner table.
I beep across the dinner table.
That's the name of Jay Ackley's next album.
I beep across the stars.
That one's for you, Jay.
Okay, so let's talk about Cat and the marketing.
Okay, so the idea that we were going to have is we were essentially going to create two separate campaigns for the movie. One that frames the Ley-to as the protagonist and one that frames the Eridai as the protagonist. You will have seen by now, because you're watching part 2, that part 1 and part 2 of the YouTube video have different posters. One is the Stonehammer poster and one is the Swiftsword poster. And both of them are like an astronaut looking through a porthole at the other ship right across the battlefield. We haven't seen the final draft of this yet, but I don't know which one is coming first. I don't know what order we're going to do it. But the idea basically is that we want to essentially create the conditions where a casual viewer might be going into the movie with different preconceptions than their neighbor.
Yeah.
Which I think would be fun. And also, character posters. People love those.
Yeah.
And I think that would be a fun way to, I don't know, to kind of play with the format of it. The trailer that I put in the Josh Gondelman was my effort to try and squash both of those into one 3-minute segment.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, you would have to have a trailer that just sold the whole movie,
Sure.
right? But, it's just that blockbuster thing we think about franchising things where it's like, oh, you should have like KFC has the Eridai cups and Pizza Hut has the Ley-to cups, that kind of thing.
If only it were 1999 again.
Yeah. By science or magic. But yeah, okay. So Dalton, my concern in this draft is that all the resolutions come a little bit fast. Did you feel that way?
No.
Good.
At first, my worry was going to be that you had done a full Star Trek third act, which was mostly going to be people on bridges talking.
No.
And
I knew you would hate that. And
Yeah.
also, I'm not making that kind of movie.
And also, I was like, what I had in my mind was in Act 1, you had such a huge action set piece. And I was like, we got to find a way to get the arrows back in the air. We need another we need the end of Star Wars Episode 1.
Well,
you need the
thing
ground
is-
battle, you need the space battle.
The thing that kept me from doing that was that I broke all the ships.
Yes,
right.
yes.
And,
And
then we're like, I could maybe get the big ships online. How am I going to get all the arrows back in the air? And that kept me from falling into the temptation. Instead, but I hope worked as an action adventure twist on one of your favorite horror strategies, which is you do your big scare at the beginning, your big bloodiest thing at the beginning. So you know there's always the potential for something like that. And so at the end, you might believe we would end up in a big space battle, and again, instead everything cools off, and it doesn't feel completely obvious that that's how it's going to end.
I think you walked the line here between a lot of just sort of militaristic stakes and interpersonal stakes between everyone, and then also having some action. My instinct, of course, I think would be to, find some bullshit way to get the arrows back up in the air. But like you said, you broke everything, and that's very intentional. And I know that I'm not saying you should do that.
Sure.
That's just
I
think you wrote a good line here.
There's also an extent to which, if I am trying to frame these conflicts as ultimately about people, not ideologies, like these are people who are built by ideologies and aimed at each other through ideology, I like that the final battle is just between people over something that is ultimately personal.
I am trying to decide whether the ending is too clean and happy.
I mean, originally I was going to kill that kid. And that would be the kind of like, all right, so if we're going to...
I honestly don't know.
I think if you killed Sunroll, there's no way Father Roll's coming around. I think if you kill Sunroll, you also have to kill Father Roll.
Yeah. My original plan was that they were going to have to kill Father Roll in order to save the day. But honestly, I liked him too much, and I felt that he was, in this draft at least, I would have to redo the whole movie. I think that the audience would reject killing Father Roll in order to protect the peace.
And I don't even know if that's what I'm saying. And I'm still undecided. I'm trying to decide if it rides the right line between just a satisfying conclusion to all of the things that have been set up, or if it's a little after school special of like, we can shake hands and resolve our differences and share, and
I'm hoping that the looming kind of doomsday back in their home worlds that I got to only spare like 2 lines to explain, that likelihood is that at least one of their civilizations is fucked and there's nothing to go home to anyway, puts a little bit of a darker spin on it. But yeah, that is my main thing, is that like everything, I'm usually very much a price paid person. Like I usually want any moment of victory to have a cost in blood. And people who have read my previous stuff probably have noticed that I do that. Going all the way back to the Wolfman, like we kill Pool.
Yeah.
Right? Just to establish that this is bad things are happening in order for them to get there. I just I couldn't think of, like, in that shootout, like Treyla could have shot Father Roll in the head, right? But I think that, like Sarah was saying, I think if Treyla kills Father Roll, there's like the slightest chance that Sunroll can still come around. But I don't think so. At least not in this moment. We need more time. We need a whole other movie.
Yeah.
Right? If Sunroll gets killed, Father Roll's never rolling over. And I guess like the easy person to kill would be if Kit just like fucking dies of his injuries on the bridge. Right? Like he gets to give his little speech and he gets to have a little smile and nod with Solna. But there's like, nah, this dude is still too fucked up. But that kind of, for one thing, it throws away the romantic potential that I think is potentially that is fun. He's a fun character. I wanted to see both him and Solna achieve their individual goals. I wanted to see her take some time for herself, and I wanted to see him become part of something.
Yeah, I don't have, which is strange for me, any like pitch ideas, because again, I don't even know that I think it's a problem.
You guys should tell us in the comments, and also like and describe. And also like and describe. Please describe the entire plot in the comments. Yeah. One comment at a time. Please go into the comments. One person, the first commenter after the live premiere or whatever, write a synopsis of the whatever you can think of the first 5 minutes of the movie, and the person under that will comment the next 5 minutes, and we're just gonna have a lot of comments on there, and that'll boost our metrics.
That's engagement, baby. Yeah. The one idea that is coming to me is, I don't know how you would make this work mechanically, and so we don't have to. We can just leave it there. But I'm going to put out there, if they decide to make this truce and live together for the sake of survival, but there are some fanatics in their ranks, maybe one is a character that we know that is like, that refuses, that is like, absolutely not. I will not, I don't care what you say, I will not team up with these people. And so they decide to stay behind on the Swift Sword.
Yes.
And you get like basically some stubborn defectors from both sides.
Yeah.
Even.
The idea that they would rather go off into their own little place and keep trying to kill each other.
Yeah, and draw a line down the half of the ship. But like an idea that some people like the idea that they're like, we're gonna squash the beef and just everyone is gonna be okay with that because we're the captains. I think it might be a little bit fun to add a wrinkle of like, no, there are some diehard believers in here that will go down with the ship literally. And so they're like, peace out. We're going back to the Swift Sword before this, and we will live there till we can.
Well, that creates an interesting situation where you could have both Father Roll and Commander Zoso refuse to participate in this, as they are the elders, right? They are the commanders. They're the ones who are theoretically the most bought into all of this.
Yeah.
They could both be like, we're not doing that. And then it comes to the characters who we've been seeing grow and change, right?
Become the leaders of the new
Solna
community.
and Sun Roll, and maybe Treylaw, right?
Yeah.
Are the ones who end up like, well, we're taking over. The
that
only
would
thing
require
about
a
that,
rewrite kind of the movie to set that up, right?
Yeah,
to
we
set
would
up
have
that
to-
decision from everyone.
But like, it is the kind of thing where like, we have these rules about how long these can be that make sense
Mhm.
for us, for our show. A script like this, I think, would expect it to be longer just because of all the description involved.
Yeah.
I think that I would be permitted another 20 pages on this script. And that's where we could pave a lot of that road, even in just that one section of the second act that is a little bit light right now, where we can establish a little bit more of what this conflict is like for individuals, the diversity between them. We're not really even using anything about like how the Eridai are individuals looking for individual goals, right? The idea that all of them would agree to do anything, kind of strange credulity.
the idea we could have a section that gives Father Roll maybe like a flashback sequence to some battle he was a part of, and then simultaneously Zoso is having a flashback to the same battle that she was a part of,
And
that has like traumatized them in different ways and has cemented their hatred for each other.
Even without a flashback, we could seed earlier that they're each veterans of, we don't have to say at first this is the case, but they're both veterans of some really difficult battle.
Yeah.
And then they realize when they're face to face that they are the enemy that like they faced those years ago. And they can't let it go because for them, there is like this reminder. This isn't just someone wearing the uniform of somebody who hurt me. This is the person who hurt me. Like there was originally kind of some question earlier on. There was a little bit of more interaction between Sun Roll and Solna, where Sun Roll will be talking about how, like, yeah, my birth mother was also a transplant. That was, so I know what this is like for you. But the implication that like, it's like we got to fight a few times together before she got killed.
Yeah.
And maybe she was even the left hand that Solna replaced.
That died, yeah.
So if we want to maybe play that game, we could have it be that they don't realize it until later, but Sun Roll's mother, who presumably was like, you know, I don't know if they have marriage in the Ley-to or whatever, but was involved with Father Roll, was killed in a battle, and the person who killed her would have been Zoso or someone under Zoso's command, and something similar could have happened to somebody close to Zoso.
Yeah.
Right?
And
that's something we'd have to build back all the way. But it would allow us to, first of all, give the two of them more individual stuff going on, because right now they're kind of... Father Roll has a lot of flavor, but he's still mostly procedural, and Zoso is completely procedural.
Yeah, and then it allows you to have an ending that even more closely aligns to your political beliefs, where
the older
generation is so stubborn that they cannot resolve anything, so they get left behind to die, and the younger generation goes and makes things better.
Yeah, I really want, as a moment that I always kind of want to have it in there, at a moment where Solna would make the decision to do this, where she'd be left with the idea of what does she want to leave to people, and she would have to basically, she'd be looking that child soldier in the eye and say, no, we're not doing this anymore.
Yeah.
This is all stuff that just like, I just did not have the runway to put together. And I think in another draft, I would definitely want to put in there.
Well, I think it's a great pitch.
Thank you, Dalton.
I think it is a great kickoff to the solo pitches of the pod universe. I think we are starting on a strong foot. Hopefully we don't trip when Los Alamos comes out.
I have every confidence in you, homie.
I think this is a great pitch. I mean, we don't really lock things in anymore, but this one is locked in.
it's
they're all locked in now.
Yeah.
But
so the big takeaways, though, if we were going to do something like we used to do with Picture Lock, where we just kind of recap some of the important beats to our universe, there is now a ship wandering the cosmos called the Lost Shepherd 2. I think I want to seed some more stuff about the Lost Shepherd throughout. I think it's kind of make it more of a recurring theme. Just another thing I didn't have room for. So it's a little bit more dramatic when Trela shows up, and so that the ending is a little bit more feels a little bit more, I don't know, feels like it's built up to better. And it has a bunch of aliens from a couple different planets who are now presumably going to head towards Earth
to figure out what the heck happened.
What's going on. And I will tip my hand here, Dalton. If you'd rather me cut this part out, we can. I have left it open so that the Lost Shepherd 2 does not necessarily have to return in time for our first crossover. We have time dilation to deal with. It could take them 5 years to get to Earth. It could take them 10. It could take them 100 years to get to Earth.
Yeah, I like that aspect of it. That they could show up at a very unexpected time.
I also want to invite you, Dalton, that if, I know you're excited to do your alien riff, if in phase 2 you want to set your alien riff aboard this ship, I think I'm cool with that.
That is a possibility, although I'm thinking I will probably want to set up some alternate space things for us, but I appreciate that possibility. Next week on the show, we're going to have a bonus pod for our patrons. What is
our next bonus episode? This will be on October 26th. We will be doing a studio mandate pitch for the Breakfast Club featuring the Keeper of the Black Lagoon, Hunter Marin from our Dark Universe saga.
Love that.
We'll also be kicking off our 2 new year-long movie watch challenges where Dalton and I each select 10 movies for the other to watch. We will do 1 per episode, 1 per month for each of our lists. Dalton will be doing the first entry in the Dilterian collection, a bunch of sort of what I think of as essential classic movies that Dalton has not seen, which is Network.
Yes.
From 1976. And I will be watching... do you have a title yet for this segment?
Nope.
I will be watching the first of classic sort of like 50s and 60s.
Yeah, we're going to do like mid-century horror.
Sort of Hammer horror type movies.
Starting with the
Curse of Frankenstein.
The Curse of Frankenstein.
So that's next week.
Yes. And then after that, we'll have a guest
episode. Can't reveal that yet.
And then Los Alamos. Head to shop.thepoduniverse.com to shop merch from this episode and previous episodes. And we do still have our Gwen Conliffe Literally Eat the Rich shirt from the Dark Universe.
That's true.
That is something you are interested in.
By Kendra Wells.
Yep.
And you can join our Patreon at patreon.com/Dylan and Dalton and start your free trial there. You get 7 free days. Check out the bonus pod. Join our wonderful Discord community where they're doing script readings and workshops all the time. It's a really beautiful space of people who are working together to enjoy art and the creation and sharing thereof. And also the director's cut of this episode, which is just a version of all of this with all of our yapping cut out. It's just a continuous feature-length audio adventure.
So if you would just like to re-listen to The Last Flight of the Stone Hammer without our interruptions, you can do that right now on Patreon.
I'm also going to start releasing the scores of these. Hopefully by the time this is out, the score to pod people will be available to stream at least for the patrons, if not also on other streaming platforms. So check those out if you're interested.
Beep, 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 beep. This is future Dalton coming in with a message from the future. I have a new single out. It's called Some Dark Magik, and it is about when your relationship has gotten so stale that you decide to kill each other and then bring each other back from the dead in some sort of satanic ritual in order to start all over. Needless to say, it is perfect for the Halloween season, and I encourage you all to seek this out and add it to your Halloween playlists. Again, it is called Some Dark Magik with a K, as you will hear in the song, under Dalton Deshane on Spotify and Apple Music and everywhere else. And you're going to hear us wrap up the show, and then you'll hear a little end stinger, and then you'll hear the song. So stick around and listen to Some Dark Magik and enjoy. And until next time, I guess we don't say that now.
Yeah.
We just say... You are now exiting
the pod. Maybe you're saying you are now returning to the Prime universe. Have fun.
Oh, okay.
Well, actually,
that's not canonically the Prime
really
universe.
The case. Enjoy your universe, folks.
With the sizzle of a lightning strike, an ancient tongue that's long been lost, hellhounds baying in the dead of night. This could be I found an old rubber in the woods last week. I put it in my bag so I could use it. I could use it for a ritual, a voodoo ritual to steal the last spirits of their ecstasy. And I've been worshiping the devil, trying to steal you back. I offered him my soul and he said keep it, no you keep it. Yes I mean it, honestly I
I do appreciate it, but love's not something I'm all that skilled at. Now I'm thinking we should take a weekend apart. Yeah, I'm thinking that maybe if you murdered me and shook my teeth in a Yahtzee cup, mix them into your champagne, and using some dark magic with a K, I'd be resurrected out of hell as a happier version of myself, as a happier. The ocean's an enchanting place to fall in love. That's why they'll find our bodies in a dumpster on the boardwalk, on the beach, covered in leeches. Yeah, the geary leeches, just trying to suck out whatever poisoned us. Now I'm thinking we should take